There's a lion in the grass behind your best friend. It's 100,000 years ago, and you can see it,
Look, right
but they
there,
can't.
a lion.
You open your mouth to
Gasp.
warn them, and what comes out? Maybe a word,
out!
or
What
maybe
comes
just a
out?
panicked grunt and a frantic point. Because somewhere in our deep past, there was a moment, quite possibly the single most important
There.
moment in all of
Look.
human history, when a sound stopped being just a noise and became a word. A tiny vibration in the air that two people
Listen.
agreed would always mean the same thing. That one invention rewired the entire planet.
this tiny
And here's the
vibration-
maddening part. We have almost no idea when it happened, because words don't fossilize. You can dig up a skull, a spear, a grave, but you cannot dig up a sentence.
We have
So how
almost
did
no
ancient
idea
humans
when it
actually
happened.
learn to talk? Let's get into it. Start with the hardware, because talking is a freakishly difficult physical trick. To make the huge range of sounds in human speech, your voice box, your larynx, sits unusually low in your
How did
throat,
ancient humans
giving
learn
you
to
a
talk?
big, flexible chamber to shape sound in. Great for words,
What kind of
terrible
way
for
does
not
stick to your
dying.
throat?
Because in
Sound starts
humans,
here,
the
with
tube for
hardware,
air and the
vocal
tube for
folds.
food cross right over each other, which means we are basically the only animal on Earth that can choke to death on its own dinner. Sit with that. We are the only creature that can recite poetry and also die from a grape going down the wrong way. That was the deal evolution made, a slightly higher risk of choking in exchange for the power of speech. And you can actually watch this trade-off happen. A newborn baby has a high larynx, like an ape, which is exactly why a baby can breathe and swallow milk at the same time without choking. Then, around 3 months old, the larynx drops into the adult position. The choking risk switches on, and so does the babbling. We are,
You can watch
quite
this trade-off
literally,
happen.
rebuilt to talk, even when it costs us. The scientist Philip
Newborn
Lieberman
anatomy.
spent decades
A high
arguing
larynx
that this
allows
remodeled
simultaneous
throat
breathing
was a
and
key
swallowing.
step toward language.
At 3
And
months
it's
old,
not just the
larynx
throat.
begins dropping to the
There's a
adult
gene
position,
called
a crucial
FOXP2.
anatomical shift that
When one
expands the
family,
laryngeal space.
known to researchers as the KE family, had a mutation in it, they struggled badly with speech and grammar.
Literally
It's not a
rebuilt to
magic
talk,
language
even when
gene,
it costs
but it's
us.
clearly part of the toolkit. And here's the twist.
The remodeled
Neanderthals
throat
carried the
was a
very
key
same
step.
human version of FOXP2. They had a hyoid, the little bone that anchors the tongue, almost identical to ours. And in 2021, researchers reconstructed Neanderthal ears and found they were tuned to pick up the exact frequencies of human speech, which means our primitive cousins were very probably talking. Maybe not about philosophy, but talking. Okay, so we had the body for it. But why? What pushed sound into speech in the first place?
Our
You might
2021
assume it
study
was for the
demonstrated
big
how the
practical
Neanderthal
stuff.
auditory system adapted
Hunt here,
specifically to the 2 to
danger
5
there,
kilohertz range of
the
human
river
speech.
is that way.
Me
And
see
sure,
big herd of
some of it
bison.
was. But the anthropologist
Good hunting
Robin
world, then?
Dunbar has a far funnier theory, and the evidence backs him up. Look at our cousins, the apes.
But
They
why?
bond by grooming each other, literally picking through fur for hours.
The river
In some
is that
monkeys,
way.
grooming eats up as much as a
Hunt
fifth
here.
of the entire day.
Danger there.
It keeps the peace and holds
And
the
sure,
group together.
Some of it was.
But there's a hard limit. You can only groom one friend at a time,
Early humans
and
evolved
as
not for
groups
survival,
grew
but because the
bigger,
first Chipotle had a
there
minute maid
simply
sensor.
weren't enough
Cookies in
hours in the
society,
day.
which leads to lattes, which leads to
Dunbar's
episodic
idea is that language is vocal grooming, a way to bond with many people at once, without laying a finger on any of them. He even put a number on it. The size of group our brains seem built
Everything's going to
for
be all
is
right.
around 150
Yes,
people,
we're all here for
still
you.
about the size of a
Together, we
tight
thrive.
community today. You cannot groom your way to a group that big. You have to talk. And what do we actually
There's no way we
use
finish
all that
these
talk
dogs by
for,
6.
even now?
Can't handle this much
Not
longer.
equations,
It's past 6.
gossip.
Where is my poodle?
Study after study finds that most human conversation is about other people, who did what, with whom, and
You
who
are
is
all
furious
valued.
about
We
it.
are awesome
So
together,
language
friends. I'm
probably
sending
didn't
you all
begin
my
with
love and
deep
support.
philosophy.
We are awesome.
The very first
Because together,
sentences
we
were
have
most
built a
likely the
brighter future for this
prehistoric
family.
version of,
Thank you all
"You
for
are
making
not
this
going to
community the
believe what
best it can
Throck
be."
did last night." And there's a strong chance it didn't even
You
start
can't
with the
groom your way
voice.
to a group that
The
big. You
psychologist
have to
Michael
talk for- what do we
Corballis
use all that
argued
talk
that
for?
language may have begun with the
Not
hands,
equations.
gestures, and
Gossip?
signs, long
So I heard
before
Person A
it
was
ever
seeing Person
moved
B
to
at
the
the coffee
mouth.
shop last night.
No
And
way. I thought
honestly,
they were with Person C,
you can
and I
still
heard they
see
both
it.
called in sick today.
Try
It was
telling a
drama.
good story with your hands tied down. You can't. We never fully stopped talking with our hands. But here's the part that actually changes everything. The one feature that separates a few clever animal calls from true human language. A monkey can scream a specific alarm for eagle
guys, check
and send
this
the
out.
whole troop
Wow, that
diving
looks
for cover.
amazing. I love it.
Impressive.
We should
But that
definitely go
monkey
there
can
later.
never say, "Remember that eagle from last winter." It can't say, "If we go to the far valley tomorrow, we'll find water." It can't say, when you die, your spirit travels up to the stars. Linguists call this power displacement, the ability to talk about things that are not here, the past, the future, the maybe, the invisible. And it is, quite simply, a superpower. Once humans could describe a world that wasn't right in front of them, everything opened up. Plans across seasons, stories passed down 1,000 years, laws, promises, myths, gods, history itself. A grunt keeps you alive in the moment. A sentence lets you reach into the past, rehearse the future, and pour an entire imaginary world straight into someone else's head. And there's one final piece of magic. With a finite handful of words and a few rules for combining them, you can build a literally infinite number of brand new sentences. Some of the exact sentences in this very video have almost certainly never been spoken by anyone in that precise order in the whole history of the world. And yet, you understood them instantly. Now, you might fairly point out that a clever ape pointing and grunting is a very long way from Shakespeare. True, and we honestly don't know how long that journey took. Serious estimates run all the way from nearly 2 million years ago with our tool-making ancestors to a sudden explosion just 50,000 years back. But here's the humbling thing. Every single word you have ever spoken is the direct descendant of one grunt, made by one ancestor, who decided that this sound, from now on, would always mean water. So everything we've talked about, what ancient humans believed, feared, loved, and passed down, we only know any of it because of this. Language, the invisible thread that ties every other human thing together. The lover's confession, the name whispered over a grave, the myth told around the fire, the warning shouted across the dark. None of it exists without that first fragile agreement that a sound could carry a meaning. And you are doing the magic trick right now. Vibrations in the air are striking 2 tiny flaps of skin inside your ears, and somehow, deep in your skull, they are turning into a lion, a grave, a god, an idea. That trick took your ancestors 100,000 years or more to invent, and you learned it before you could even walk. So the next time you want to warn a friend about something behind them, and you just say it, and they instantly understand, remember what that actually is. It is the most powerful tool our species has ever built, and it is quietly working in your mouth right now. This is Sketchient. Subscribe and stay curious about where we came from.